Hello there, Grateful Gang. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I'm not exactly sure what happened. To be honest with you, I am broadcasting, even though it looks like I have power. I do not have power. We're running on a generator, but I do have internet. But for some reason, when I hit live a few minutes ago, it showed it wasn't broadcasting into the group or on the page, and we can't have that. So we are back, and I have a wonderful guest with us tonight, fan favorite, my mentor, and good friend, Dr. Bruce Singer, is here with us. But thank you for joining Gratefully Living the Chronic Life. Haven't been here in a couple of weeks. Last week I took off as I was finishing the last revisions on my book. I handed that in on Friday, and that is due to come out November 30th. It's called the 5-Minute Gratitude Journal for Teen Boys, which I'm super excited about. What else has been going on? We've had some crazy weather, which is why we don't have power. We've had some storms. We've got Tropical Storm Elsa is on its way up. We've had some heat. So I hope wherever you are watching from, whether you're on the West Coast with the heat, East Coast with all the rain, I hope that you are all safe and warm and well. So I want to also thank 2 weeks ago, we had a wonderful guest on, James Cruz, poet James Cruz, who was absolutely wonderful. He shared with us poetry from his beautiful new poetry book on gratitude, and it was quite a special treat to have him here. So if you are new to the broadcast, we come to you each Thursday evening at this time, and we talk about various things pertaining to living our best lives with gratitude. And even though a lot of it pertains to living with chronic pain and illness, most of the time it's really topics that pertain to anybody with any kind of pain, which is just about anybody, emotional or physical. So thank you for joining us. If you're watching live, welcome. If you're watching the recording, welcome to you as well. Let's see, what else do I want to talk to you about before I bring our guest on? It's episode 52, believe it or not. So I've been coming just about every week for the past year, and it's been absolutely wonderful. I'm just gonna bring Bruce on now, because he's a friend I feel strange having him backstage here. Here he is. Let's see. Bruce Singer. Hey, Bruce.
Hi, how are you?
Sorry about the technical difficulties there.
Oh, believe me, after having done all my readings last year and in December, I had so many technical problems. I'm used to it, but here we are. So thrilled to be here.
Here we are. Yes, here we are. So for those of you who don't know if you haven't been watching for a while, well, first of all, I haven't had you on since November. Can you believe that, Bruce?
I know, I can't believe it's been, and so much has happened since November.
So much has happened. I knew we'd gone months, but I didn't know it had been quite that long. And I was looking, I'm like, has it really been that long? Because I like to have Bruce on for a lot of reasons. One, because he's just a wealth of information, a kind teacher. I know him from just about exactly 8 years ago. We met. I was a patient and student of his at the Chronic Pain and Recovery Center at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan, Connecticut. And I've been quite open on this broadcast about how I 8 years ago hit a rock bottom with alcohol, which is how I was medicating my chronic pain. And I was so fortunate to be able to be a part of this program, which unfortunately no longer exists, but it really was one of the greatest privileges of my life. And Bruce was the director, founder of that entire program. So I got to learn under him for 30 days. And he really changed my entire life, really. I mean, he taught me how you can live with chronic pain and illness, disability, and still have meaningful and joyful life. So everything that the message that I try to put out today is all based on what I've learned from Bruce. So thank you for being here, Bruce.
Sure. And, I appreciate and really honor your honesty and courage in talking about this. Many people went through that program, and it can be a very private thing. Someone's issues, their chronic pain, whether they have an addiction or not, as a co-occurring, factor in that, it ultimately is a very private experience. And as the clinician, the therapists, we're sort of bound by confidentiality. We don't go out and tell people about, oh, this person or that person, or I worked with this person. And but you made that choice to do that, and there have been many others who've done that too, who went through other programs at Silver Hill, and but you didn't have to do that, and that you have done it, and you incorporate it into who you are now, and you acknowledge the past and the truth of that, is just something that I respect. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It took a while in the beginning. For the people for my inner circle, of course, they knew, but for people I didn't know all that well, I was very, very quick to tell them I was at a chronic pain program, but didn't tell them the rest of it and how I got there. I mean, I didn't just, I say this all the time, but I didn't get there flying in on the wings of victory. You know, I ended up, you know, having a bad DUI, in which I thank God every day that I didn't hurt anybody. But it, you know, it happened hard and fast, and I was causing my own suffering. And so it did take me a while to come completely public about the alcohol part, but it's just a personal decision. And I'm not even saying that everybody else has to do it. For me, once I was able to really just put it out there, especially since I have a group of people that I run, I just feel like it has a little bit less power over me. And I just want to show it can happen to anybody, you know.
And some of the best people I know have had trouble with alcohol or drugs in their life. And for me, it was always really an incredible moment when maybe someone was not, they were in denial about that piece that tied into their pain, emotional pain, physical pain, spiritual pain, but they were concealing the truth of it. And sometimes it would take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then someone would just let it all out in a group, generally in a group setting, and be honest about the complexity of who they were and the complexity of their issue. And for me, I had nothing but respect for that person in that moment to be able to get to that point. You know, there was no law that said you had to ever tell or be honest, you know, but those who chose to do that whenever they chose to do it, really, I think it was very cathartic for them. And for me, those are the moments amongst the big moments in my career that I remember. Just watching a person finally let go of all the lies and secrets that form the disease of substance use disorder, and just be honest, because that was the turning point toward where they were moving from being sick to being healthy. And then it was just about encouraging the health, and that was the easy part. So you know, in watching your transformation, and I guess all I would ever say to you about this is, who you were doesn't have to define who you are now.
Right.
And who you are now was formed by who you were, but you're so much more than any of us could have ever imagined. And I think that's true for a number of people that I've worked with and who've stayed in touch with me over the years. I'd like to think it's true about myself, but for sure, you know, I just wanted to say that to you. I know you tell that story, and I don't want to discourage you from telling it, but I don't want you to neglect the piece of who you are now, which is an author and a group leader and a podcast broadcaster and all these things that you do, and how much you give to thousands of people on a daily basis. That's so much more important than anything that came before, because it's in the present moment. And this is the present moment. And the past, like we like to say, is history. We don't know what's going to happen. Power could go out in 10 minutes.
It already is, actually.
But this present is what matters. And I think COVID was really a good example of how to understand that. You know, we were all sort of stuck in a time loop of one day after another, dealing with fear and insecurity and nothing changing from day to day to day, hoping for something but not knowing what the future would bring. Would you even be alive a week from now or 2 weeks from now? I went to California recently, and I had a driver take me. And in the course of the drive, she told me that both her parents got COVID and died.
Oh God.
2 weeks apart. The mom had gone into the hospital for an unrelated operation, came home with COVID, gave it to her husband, went back to the hospital, never left. And then her husband entered the hospital and he never left. So we have all these plans that we're making for the future. And it takes something like a pandemic, a virus, something so tiny and microscopic. It's not even really fully alive, but there's a huge lesson in there for us about how to live our lives and ultimately what's meaningful and purposeful in our lives. And are we living our best life?
Right.
And so I got onto that topic pretty fast, but
no, it is. I mean, that is
leads to
what we're going to talk about, but it's such a good point because we think that we have all this time in the world, and we really just don't know. When I first came to see you, I really thought my life was over. Not literally, I didn't plan on ending my life, but I really just thought I had nothing left to offer the world and that I was scum of the earth, and I could not see anything, and I never would have expected, but somehow 1 minute, 1 day at a time,
right.
It all starts to come together. But the techniques that you help people learn really, really help with that. Let me tell you guys a little bit about Bruce if you're new to him. First of all, he wrote this amazing book of daily affirmations called Black Duck Moments Every Day, which he's going to.
I have a copy too.
Yeah, I've got a signed copy. This has been out for a few years. It's a wonderful daily meditation book for people with chronic pain and illness. He also has a wonderful Facebook group. I have the banner here for you guys. If you're not already a member of his group, join.
Come and join us.
Black Duck Moments for Recovery. We have it linked in my group. If you're new to the broadcast entirely, my group is Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. Let's talk before, because I know you and I can talk for hours. Can you tell us briefly, what is a black duck?
So if you have a chronic condition, and I assume most people who would be watching this have one or know someone who has one, that's very familiar to you. It surrounds your world. It's what you know and what you see and what you experience moment to moment to moment. And that familiar experience I decided to call the white ducks of suffering or of misery or of habit. And the exceptions to that, because they're much rarer, are the black ducks. And it sort of becomes our job in life when we have chronic conditions to begin to notice those exceptional moments when we're laughing and we're not thinking about our pain, when we're watching a exciting movie and we're not thinking about our pain, when we're in a conversation like this and the pain recedes to the back. When we begin to realize that there are these moments in life that we can connect to, there are these doors that we can walk through, and they're filled with these black ducks and these black duck moments. We can create them, we can discover them. They happen to us and we can make them happen. So the white ducks of suffering don't go away. We just accept them and bring them along with us. But the black ducks become, maybe they start out as little ducklings and we raise them up into these beautiful ducks that we carry with us and we share with others. So the black ducks are really those moments that we have a different perspective on who we are and what our pain is and what our pain means and how we can live with meaning and purpose despite having a chronic condition. And if that seems impossible, sort of my whole mission in life is to say it's not impossible.
It's not, yeah.
It's actually a doable thing. And there are many small victories that we can get on the way to a richer life. We may not get the life back that we once had, but we can have a different kind of life that may in some ways have more meaning than the life we left behind. And so that's sort of what it's all about. I mean, there's a fun story I didn't tell about it, but it's in the book, and and it's just become a metaphor for how to change that stinking thinking that they talk about in 12-step groups to a more, I guess, mindful way of being in the world, where you have greater appreciation, greater acceptance, greater flexibility, and, like the topic of tonight, greater resilience. And I want to read from the book.
Please do.
And I was going to read today's reading, although
Before we do that, you've got some fans who want to weigh in here. Let's see.
Okay, sure.
Oh, you got way too many fans. Okay. Good. Jill Cook. Hello, Jill.
Hi,
Heidi's
Jill.
here.
Hi, Heidi.
Sarah's
Sarah.
here. Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Linda. Margaret's here.
Margaret. A lot of familiar names.
Yep. Pamela. Yeah, in the submission of my book, and for generators. No kidding. Seaton's here. Hello.
Oh, hi, Seaton.
My niece Campbell's here. Hello, Campbell. Sandy Montgomery's here. Hello, Sandy.
Hi,
Denise
Sandy.
Gorgie. You know all these names.
Denise, sure. A lot of them are farmers. We call the Facebook page, My Black Duck Moments for Recovery, called Black Duck Farm.
Yeah.
And everyone we just create more land for more farmers, and we have them literally around the world. We have farmers.
It's awesome. I know your group. Somebody was just actually, I think it was Sandy Montgomery today, was just telling me how much she loves your group. It's a little slice of heaven. Sarah says Lauren is so much more than her past. We're so grateful she selflessly uses her. Thank you, Sarah. Very nice. Yeah. Arlene's here.
Hi, Arlene. Love you.
Before I went, Seaton was a patient at Silver Hill, said, I was very concerned about friends and family thinking I was an addict. Thank God I am not an addict. By the second week, I realized how amazing recovering addicts are and no longer cared if someone thought I was an addict.
Yeah.
Yep. Seeking BDM stands for Black Duck Moments, is what brought me to be a person of gratitude. Thank you for your book, Bruce Singer, and thank you for the Facebook group too.
Well, you're welcome.
Facebook user, I usually say this in the beginning of the episode, but since this episode was screwy, if you're watching from inside Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, if you don't grant StreamYard permission to use your name and photo, you come up on my screen as Facebook user. So hi, Facebook user. I'm sorry, I can't see who you are. If you want to log back out and log back in, or comment again and say who you are, I'm sure we know.
But you're welcome as you are.
You are welcome as you are. Absolutely. And Brenda. Hey, Brenda. Okay, let's get to your reading.
Okay. So I was going to do the reading for today, but the day's almost over. And then, you shared your story, and really your story is one of transformation, and that's the reading for tomorrow, July 9th. So I've made an executive decision, because we were talking about it before the show started. And I think I'll read from tomorrow's reading, because then we have something to look forward to. And if you do have the book, and many of you do, and if you get the book, I always encourage, just read one page a day. Just read the day's reading. Don't skip ahead. But certainly some people read it 2 or 3 times in the course of a day. And even in the course of one day, things can be transformative and our perspective can shift. So I do encourage.
And if you join Bruce's group, he has video of him reading several of the readings, several months worth, I think, don't you?
I did. We just finished up April, May, and June, sort of replays from last year. And then we have, I think I did December as well. And I'm always considering if I can make the time to do more live, because there was such great feedback for when I did these. But I'll read about transformation. This is one that's not pre-recorded. So the quote for the day tomorrow, July 9th, is by Bryant McGill. And Bryant McGill says, if you can sit with your pain, listen to your pain, and respect your pain, in time you will move through your pain. And I just want to say, in this sense, it's like with COVID. If you can sit with the fear, if you could sit with what was happening, if you can sit and respect the messaging of what this little virus is trying to say, then there's a way to move through that fear and to get your life back to some kind of normal. And so I think transformation is a big topic. And I think it encompasses pain here, but it can encompass what we've all been through too. Because we can't be the same, and the world is not the same as it was before this pandemic hit. It was a once in 100-year thing.
Right.
So now we have to live with that it is still here. It is still affecting people. People are still dying from it. There are variants, and yet there are ways to live with it and live through it and come out stronger. So I'll get to the reading. Chronic pain is the glue that causes us to get stuck in our lives. It binds us to sufferings of all kinds. And the more we struggle against it, the tighter it holds on to us. Worn out by that struggle and by its unrelenting grip, we give up on our hopes and dreams, on our interests and passions, and ultimately on the belief that tomorrow might be better than today. From this place of stuckness, no change seems possible. The only reality that matters is the constant cycle of daily pain or illness. We long to escape, but confuse that with transformation. From this confusion, avoidance arises, and too often in the form of an addiction. We can change our feelings and thoughts in the moment, but we perpetuate the problem. In our hearts, we know that running away changes nothing and only exhausts us. The healthier solution comes from our willingness to turn toward our condition with respect and commit to recovery. When we stop struggling and start respecting our pain and illness, the glue begins to soften. When we apply acceptance and gratitude to our hearts, we discover emotional flexibility that helps us move again. When we apply compassion to suffering, we transform our relationship with it. Rather than being the thing that holds us back, our chronic condition lets us go. And there's a lot in there to think about, isn't there?
Oh my gosh, just that last paragraph just knocked the wind out of me. It's
just
awesome.
Like packs it in. And the affirmation for tomorrow, but put it in your heart tonight. Sleep on it. Dream about it. Pray on it, because today was prayer. I will make the time today to sit with my pain. I will listen to it, and I will do my best to respect it. I will trust that I can transform myself, and in doing so, change my white ducks to black ducks, who will bring me black duck moments every day.
When we stop struggling and start respecting our pain and illness, the glue begins to soften. Right. It's perfect. When we apply acceptance and gratitude to our hearts, we develop emotional flexibility that helps us move again. So that resonates with me so much. It's so true.
And I just want to, we're suddenly at 8:30, and I want to say, give you this word. I mentioned it to you earlier, Lauren. It's a little acronym that I use, and it's called FAR, F-A-R. I may have written about it in the book, probably did, but it bears repeating. F-A-R, flexibility, which is physical flexibility, but that may be a challenge. But emotional and psychological flexibility, those are the model of mental health. If we're too rigidly holding on to our fears and our doubts and our worries and our sadness, then we lock ourselves in a cage of our own making, and we're not free to expand to the limits of our possibilities. So we need to be flexible. And A stands for acceptance. And again, if we're given choices in this world between avoidance and acceptance, I'm going to choose acceptance every time. I know avoidance can feel good at times, but ultimately, a strategy based on denial and avoidance, of moving away from something that's frightening to you, is a failed strategy in the long term. The
Yeah, it came
only
back to
strategy,
bite me, if I wasn't dealing with it properly, so it came back to bite me by
right.
avoiding it. Yeah.
The only strategy that really fully works is acceptance. And acceptance is not resignation, it's not surrender. It's a hard, real look at what is, which then frees you to find out all you can be given what is. And the R stands for resilience. And if you put them together, then you have FAR, flexibility, acceptance, resilience. You have far, and you will go far with
I
those.
like that.
But I want to talk about resilience, and whenever I talk about it, it's like, what is resilience? And I think we think of it as, the ability to get back up, but there's another component to resilience, which is best told in a story that I heard from an inspirational speaker. I was watching a documentary movie. I've told this story many times, but I love to tell it. I was watching a documentary movie on TV, and it was called American Dreamer, I think, or American Dreamers. And it followed a number of people, Americans, and their different dreams. And were their dreams fulfilled or were they not fulfilled? And I remember three of them. And one of them was about a young man who was teaching English in Tokyo or Hong Kong, some place overseas. But he really wanted to be a magician. And he brought all his illusions and tricks with him. So he rented a theater and he practiced and he practiced. And then he put on a show. And I was watching that because they taped the show. And I'm watching some of the show that they showed. And I'm thinking to myself, he's not that good a magician. And he walked off stage and he goes, I'm glad I did that, but I got it out of my system. I'm just going to go back to teaching. Then there was a woman, and her dream was to knit sweaters for dogs and sell them at a kiosk at a mall. And this dream meant so much to her, to sell sweaters for dogs, that she actually mortgaged her house to be able to rent that kiosk at the mall and make the sweaters and sell them. And it was a huge success for her. So she did well with her dream. But then there was Bonnie St. John. And this is the one that really got me, because it's all about resilience. And so Bonnie St. John, if you don't know who she is, she's an African-American woman. And when she was a very young girl living, I believe, in San Diego area, she had some problem in her leg, I want to say her right leg. Something happened, a disease or an illness, and her mom had to make a decision. And the decision that her mom made was to amputate her leg. So she grew up with one leg, and she dreamed about being a skier, but she had never done it. And then one day she was grown up and maybe, college age or just after college. Some friends said, we're going on a ski weekend, and why don't you come along and learn to ski? So she said, okay. So she took lessons and, again, falling on her butt over and over and over, but she got the hang of how to ski with one leg. She figured out the balance, like the way you figure out how to balance on a bicycle. And once you've learned how to balance on a bicycle, you can't unlearn that.
Right.
You'll always know how to get your body just right. So she learned that on the skis. And it so happened that weekend that she was there, the Paralympics were being conducted at that ski resort. And so on a lark, I mean, she just learned to ski. On a lark, she entered the giant slalom, and she did the race, and she finished the race, but she didn't get a medal or anything.
Mm.
But it put a bug in her ear, and the bug was, I'm going to practice as much as I can. I'm going to ski as much as I can. And 4 years from now, wherever these Paralympics are being held, I'm going to enter them. So 4 years go by, and the Paralympics were held in Innsbruck, Austria. And so she entered these Paralympics. And again, the giant slalom. And they have 2 runs, a morning run and an afternoon run. And at the end of the morning run, she was in first place, which meant that she got to go last in the afternoon. So all the people go, and now it's her turn, and she's flying through the flags and the gates, whatever they call them. She's like way on top of this. And then within sight of the finish, the ice, I don't know, the snow, the conditions changed. I mean, what maybe was icy in the morning was slushy, or what was slushy was now icy. But she hit a spot within sight of the finish, and she wiped out. So now she's down on the ground, and she had the wherewithal to somehow pull herself up and get back up on that ski and finish the race.
Wow.
And unbelievably, she got the bronze medal.
Really?
She came in third. And that made her think, and this is what she tells, and I'm not doing her ability to tell her own story justice, but what she tells in this story is that it made her realize that it's not just about getting up. The person who got the silver got up just a little bit faster than her, because what she found out was everyone who went down that hill fell.
Oh, wow.
And the person who got the gold got up just a little bit faster than the person who got the silver. So resilience isn't just getting back up onto your feet, however that means, whatever that means for you. It's how quickly can you do it? Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? And is that enough motivation to get back up and begin to transform your life according to what matters most to you? And I think through this whole pandemic, it really, for me, threw back onto me, what do I really value? If I was to die this year, would I be living the life I want to live? What's important to me? And even more than what's important to me, what matters most to me? And could I begin to live more in congruence with what matters most to me? Is it caring for others? Is it, taking care of a garden? Is it helping others in some way? And I know for me that one of the results of coming out of this and feeling more secure about my health in relation to it is I joined a group of therapists in New York, not to be a therapist seeing people, but to mentor younger therapists and be their supervisor, because I wanted to give something back. What do I know? And in all my life experience, and how can I help people just starting out to be the best version of themselves? So I think if I'm grateful for the pandemic, I'm grateful because it helped me reflect again on what was truly important in my life. And it helped me reflect very deeply at times on what do I value? What matters most to me?
Yeah, there were a lot of lessons like that for me out of the pandemic as well. And I would venture to guess the world. A lot of us were without families for long periods of time, or friends, social contact with anybody outside of who lives in their home, unable to do a lot of the hobbies and things that you enjoy doing, and really had a lot of time for self-reflection, possibly get to know spouse again in close quarters, children.
How much more important is hugging someone than all the money in the world?
So right.
But doing it in a way that you're not going to make them sick, or they're not going to make you sick.
Right.
So I think if all of us can sort of shake what's happened off to the extent that we can pick ourselves up from what may, for many of us, have been much like a lost year, and accept that's what happened. We just happen to be living at an interesting time in history.
Right.
And, if you're listening to my voice, you probably survived it. And if you survived it, then are you using that time that was given to you to transform yourself forward, to be resilient, to pick up and assess your values, to live according to what your true north is, to find those black ducks and gather them up and share them with others and grow them in your life so that you are moving forward, living with more meaning and purpose than maybe you were before the pandemic.
I've often wondered, and I don't know, maybe you can tell me from the patients that you see, but I've often wondered if those of us who have lived with chronic pain, illness, disability for a long periods of time, is it something that we were almost kind of prepped for already?
Yeah, we were like the best, potential people for it because, chronic illness causes a lot of social isolation.
Right.
Chronic pain, you beg off of doing a lot of things you used to do. We're kind of pros at, staying at home and figuring it all out. So I think in terms of one's mental health, there was a lot of preparation and probably a lot of flexibility and strength and resilience that people with chronic conditions could bring to something like a pandemic, where someone maybe who is just a complete extrovert, social butterfly, never thinking about what it means to have a victory being getting out of bed in the morning.
Right.
Someone who the concept of putting on clothes means nothing to them.
Right.
Or taking a shower or making a meal. Those things are things they don't even think about. But if your life is focused on these little victories, then we were strangely and weirdly, the most prepared for that.
Yeah, we're kind of used to life's plot twists because, our conditions can change on a dime depending on the day. And so,
and often people with chronic conditions have worked through that why me question, which really,
right.
Really traps people and gets them stuck. That's some of the toughest glue to soften up is, the why me, and the important question is never why, it's always how am I going to live my life from this moment forward.
Right.
But you have to be able to let go of shadow boxing, I say, with the past. That's a futile endeavor. I do think it's of all the people who would know how to deal with this, I think people with chronic conditions were well versed.
Hey, score one for us.
I know it's not the kind of point you necessarily want to get, but
this is from my dad. Hi, Lauren, Dr. Singer. Thank you for all you did for our wonderful daughter.
That's you're welcome.
Thanks, Dad. Arlene says, I've given your book to 4 dear friends, one in Germany, one in the US, and 2 friends in Canada. It is so amazing to know that I am connected with these friends every day, knowing they are reading it every day with me.
Yeah.
And the YouTube user 2sip says, wow, so meaningful, wonderful. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Pamela, wise words as always. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
Arlene, I've become companions with the pain. We are not at odds anymore. I accept that the pain is here and have made the complete transformation from not thriving to thriving.
Yeah, and I love that word thriving. I sort of got a little annoyed with Kaiser Permanente when I was working for them as a fellow years and years ago, because their sort of ad campaign was thrive. And I took it to mean from an insurance company's perspective, if you're all out there thriving, you're not making claims, and therefore we don't have to pay out claims. So, you go and thrive.
Yeah.
But I do love the word thrive, because so much of the last year was just about survival.
Right.
like it's like washing your hands 10 times a day and trying to find the Clorox wipes and the, you know, and the masks and staying away from people and you know, just trying. Everyone sort of went into survival mode.
Yeah, you're treading water, just trying to keep your head above water. Yeah.
But as we know from chronic conditions, there's a difference between surviving and thriving.
Absolutely.
And at some point, we have to come into acceptance around who we are as on this little time we have on this planet, and then thrive. So thank you for bringing that up, Arlene.
Yeah. Oh, my mouse stopped working. Hang on. So we've got bad time for my mouse to stop. Let's see if I can get this. I'm gonna have to read this out. Well, you know what? I can get the mouse working in just a minute. Let's continue on with the subject, and we'll get to more comments in a minute. So,
sure.
What are some other ways that we have learned lessons from the pandemic?
Well, to me, another huge lesson in this, and it's one we all know, but sometimes it takes something like a pandemic to really bring out the importance of it, which is human connection, which is,
I'm glad you brought that up.
We are all connected to one another. Our minds are social brain, you know, our brains are social brains. We want to be in connection with other people. And when that's taken away, where the only connection comes through a screen, maybe through Zooming with people or phone calls, or where it's through like all those heart-wrenching photos of you know, the husband or the wife in the nursing home and the spouse on the other side of the window, and can't connect except through touching in the glass, you know. So for me, a huge lesson came out of this, which is the value and the importance, the crucial importance of having and making and deepening connection with others. Why do I even accept and do these things as much as I like you? It's really about connection and connecting, and how can I, as a human being with my experience and my thoughts and my perspectives, connect with others in a way that maybe enhances all of our lives. So I don't know if I've lost Lauren here, but I'm happy to keep talking about this subject. I know that Lauren wants to do a prize giveaway for, oh, there you are. I'm stealing your thunder about the book, but you disappeared on me and I had no poems to read. Although I do one project that I've been procrastinating on a little bit lately, but it's almost done, is an album of which you could stream. I'm not going to have a hard version of the CD, but it'll be on all the streaming sites, of original poems and music. And it's called Compassioning. Ooh. And so it's 6 poems, or I think 6 or 7 poems, with music, and they're just mindful related and connected related. I'll let you know when that's coming up. It'll be just a little bit later this year, maybe by the end of the summer.
You do have a site for your music, right? BruceFsinger.com.
Yeah, and I got to bring that up to date, but it's better to go to bandcamp.brucesinger. Bandcamp.brucefsinger.com.
All right, I will write that. Bandcamp.brucefsinger.com. Okay.
And there are a number of albums there. Some of them are meditative, some are more challenging, but they're all instrumental, and this one will join them. And I think there may even be some previews of some of the poems on that Bandcamp site, if you look for it under an album called Portfolio, which is new and unreleased material.
Beautiful.
So you can see some of the poems there.
You're a man of many talents. I didn't want to take up all of our time reading your very full bio, but you were also a screenwriter in Hollywood for a time before becoming a psychologist too, which is very interesting. Yeah. So
that was a lot of fun for me.
Jack of all trades. Let's see. Let's get back to some of those comments. Pamela
Good.
Creighton, I think we got that. Denise says, "Love that story, Bruce." Debbie Coutras, "My sister died 2 years ago in a tragic accident. It made me realize how fragile this life is and the importance of this moment because it is the only moment that is guaranteed."
That's right.
For sure.
Without being too morbid, I like to say at times, we all have a number on our back. We just don't know what that number is. Lives end always too soon. So it really is an incumbent on us to make the most of each moment to the best of our, and look, I watched The Bachelorette. I have my guilty pleasures and downtime. I probably shouldn't have said that, but it's too late now. But yeah, so some moments I just bank them as like, this is time wasted and I'm not going to get this back.
But is it wasted, or is it just a nice regrouping time?
Well, the funny thing is that for years I was watching that, and it was like my secret guilty pleasure. And then I was talking to my brother, who's also a very well-known psychologist and dean of a great college. And I somehow let it slip out that I've been watching The Bachelor. And he goes, "Me too. Did you watch it last night?" So we both had these guilty pleasures. Now we can connect.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have this season taped. I haven't watched it yet because I've been busy with the book, but I love Katie. I'm curious to see if she hooks up with somebody good. Let's see who. Oh, Janet Bersat's here. Hi, Janet. So great to see you both and listen to you expounding and expanding your views. Thank you for joining us, Janet.
Thank you.
Mary. Hi, Lauren and Bruce. I appreciate both of you. Thank you for all you do. Appreciate you too, Mary.
And Mary, I always appreciate your posts. I try to like as many posts as I can on my group. They're just always awesome posts. I mean, sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're sad, sometimes deeply sad. But honest, and Mary has been posting some deer, going through her yard, and those are fun to watch. So I think it's just we have just a great little farm going there, and great sharing back and forth. And there's always more acreage on Black Duck.
Always. Black Duck Moments for Recovery is the name of the Facebook group. You definitely want to become a member of that.
And it's great support back and forth.
It is.
We're not in like, it's like your group, Lauren, in the sense that gratefulness is important, compassion. We're not sharing advice on medications or complaining about, the injustices of the world. We're trying to really explore and discover these Black Duck moments that we neglected for so long in our lives. And isn't that a shame? But we can't go back. We can only move forward and accept the white ducks, accept the black ducks, and do it all with love and compassion.
What I love about your group, and I think, when you start doing a gratitude practice, it's a similar thing. Is when you get it into your head that you want to actively do a gratitude practice, you start to train yourself to look for things to be grateful for, and then in essence, you rewire your brain, and it will come easier to you. In Black Duck Moments for Recovery, when people get the hang of black ducks, they're looking for things for black ducks and can't wait to take a picture to put it in your group. And they do. And it's a beautiful group of people's black ducks. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
The thing about black ducks is once you sort of put your mindset to looking for black ducks, it's like when you buy a new car, and then you start seeing that car, all over the road, or you listen to a song and it becomes your favorite song, and suddenly you hear that song everywhere. There's a term for that. I forget what the term is, but it's once you begin to see any black ducks, you begin to see more and more black ducks. And that is the beauty of it. And
then as you say, you become a farmer of the black ducks when you're aware of these moments where you forget about your pain, even if it's for very brief moments of time. You can start collecting them and use them for, those excruciating times when you really need them.
And the way to collect them, and this is just like like they love to say, a pro tip, write them down. At the end of the day, just as Lauren might say, write down 3 things you're grateful for that occurred during the day. If you've had a black duck moment, write it down. Keep a black duck journal. And then when you do have those down times, when you do have those rough challenges, boy, if you had 500 black duck moments you wrote down, it's going to remind you that there are 500 more out there, and you'll get through this particular moment in time.
Yeah.
That's so challenging. So yeah, write them down. Journal. Keep your black ducks. I strongly encourage that. Writing things down makes it more real. That I know as a fact.
I've recently started, it's actually been, if you can believe this, it's been 5 years since my gratitude project of 2016, where on my personal Facebook page, I put one thing I was grateful for every day for the entire year. And it started off as a very small thing. And towards the end of the year, I was writing, paragraphs, and my rules to myself were that I didn't repeat anything, or I tried not to repeat things. And I didn't want to make it anything of material value. I wanted them to be things that everybody could relate to. And so I really had to dig deep. But by writing it, well, first of all, I held myself accountable by doing it on Facebook. But it is amazing what you can find. And now looking back at them 5 years later is really interesting, really interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure it brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
I think when the challenge was sort of being stuck in this kind of Groundhog Day of COVID, until there was some hope and the vaccines came and there was a chance to move forward, the ability to sort of move yourself forward now to sort of overcome that COVID pandemic inertia, that's, I think, a challenge at this time in life. It's like, how do I get started? How can I find any black duck? How do I get to this place that, Dr. Singer's talking about? And it's really, it's not doing it all at once. It's really just paying attention to each step along the way. If you follow the path of your heart, of your passion, one step at a time, eventually you get to the top of the mountain and you have the beautiful view. And you didn't necessarily have to just be focused on the mountaintop the whole time. So I'm a big believer in less is more. Just do enough every day to put your head on the pillow and say, today was a better day than yesterday. And maybe you can overcome that kind of inertia and begin to build the momentum, I think, that you were talking about.
I like that. That's a really good analogy. That's really great. I was actually just talking to somebody about that today, about how gratitude doesn't have to be this big, complex thing. You can keep it simple, but, keeping it a daily thing or semi-daily really does help to keep it in our consciousness.
The best exercise I do with people around gratitude is just ask them, what are you grateful for in the room that you're sitting in right now? And people will often say, well, I'm grateful for my family. And I say, well,
I remember you asking us this.
And I still ask this question, because if your family's not in the room, you can't say your family, and people begin to then have to be present with where they're at and begin to see that even the room that they're in, no matter what that room is, there are things to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And that's the starting place.
And I remember we were sitting in a very sterile looking conference room, and I'm like, I don't know what I was grateful for. I actually used that as one of the days in the book I just wrote. What are you grateful for in your immediate surroundings right now? Be curious to hear what teenage boys have to say about that. Website for Dr. Singer to check out related to compassioning is secondmindmedicine.com.
Secondmindmedicine.com. Thank you.
Yeah, great. We'll have to check that out. Somebody says maybe you should be on The Bachelorette. Being married.
Yeah, I guess they're doing a senior version. That's the version
I heard
I don't
that.
want to watch.
You're old when the senior version, they're like way younger than us, right? Let's see. I'm skipping around a little bit here. Sarah says, how exciting. Can't wait for your release. How are we on time? Oh gosh, we're at the hour already. Let me try to get Pamela Creighton. Is this the phenomenon you were talking about? Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, I believe is what you are referencing.
I think it is. That's where,
wow, that's impressive.
when you buy a red shirt and suddenly you're noticing all these red shirts, or you have a new baby and suddenly you're seeing all these new babies everywhere. It's just a phenomenon that's kind of curious. But if you're looking for a black duck, and once you found it, you're going to find them everywhere. And you'll bring the black duck to others. That's the best part, when you can be the one who has discovered the black duck and then share it with another.
For sure. The book, again, Black Duck Moments Every Day. You can find it on Amazon. Beautiful, beautiful book. Every day there's various topics: letting go, blossoming, connection, giving, suffering, pain. I think I'm even quoted a few times in here.
I did surprise you by having a quote.
You did. It was very nice. And Jill, I'll just end on this. Jill Cook said, this book was a prize I received early on in my AOG days. Priceless. Great. Bruce.
Is it going to be a prize for someone else?
Oh gosh, I forgot all about the prize. It is going to be, I'm losing power, and I completely forgot about the contest.
Next time.
I will do a contest in the group tomorrow. I promise. We have Bruce is going to autograph a copy of this for somebody. So I will, I'm a little discombobulated today. I will.
I guess I'm never being invited back here now. I put the post office.
No. I asked you, would you be well, and you said yes, and then I just completely forgot about it.
Well, the time flew. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure having you on. As you know, that I love having you on, and we could talk to you for hours. Yeah. If you guys want to reach Bruce, you can, again, go to his website's drbrucesinger.com, and his group, his fabulous group, Black Duck Moments for Recovery, on Facebook. I think it's actually linked to my group, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Bruce, thank you for being here, as always, my friend. It's always a pleasure. And I'll see you guys next week. Peace and love, gang. Bye.